Hi everyone, I'm Gina Minardi and I'm a licensed therapist who got fed up with therapy. This is a one-woman show about my journey of finding the spaces between non-traditional approaches of healing. What I learned is that there's no one right way to heal, and you truly are your best resource. Therapists and healers are meant to support you on your path, but they don't have all of the answers. You do. This show is about the spaces between laughter, tears, thoughts, ego, soul, messy growth, and moments of joy. It's about personal liberation, inner knowing, and the tools that get you there. I will cover topics that make many of us uncomfortable and interviewing people who are willing to go there. I've spent thousands of hours listening to human beings navigate their life story, from rehabs in Malibu to homeless shelters in East LA, and now my private practice. It has been some of the most profound, painful, and beautiful moments in my life. Thank you so much for joining me. Hi friends, how are you doing on this Wednesday? If you live in the United States, it's been a continuation of a really charged and violent time. So I decided that I wanted to follow up last week's episode with a further discussion on our energy system and chakras. And you may ask yourself, well, Gina, how could this woo-woo topic be related to what we're going through and experiencing in the US? Well, because I believe that we are all connected and there is really, really intense energy in the ether right now. The violence that we're witnessing, the amount of hatred that is spewing all over, and the instability and uncertainty. So whether or not you believe in chakras, that's totally okay, because even I can be a bit skeptical of these things when something is not really seen or can't necessarily be proven in the physical or scientific world. But I still think they're a fantastic way to check in with what is stuck in us, imbalanced energy, or energy that is vibrating at a certain frequency, as I think many of us are feeling these days. So you can also think of these 7 centers as stages of growth, evolution, and deeper awareness into yourself. So as I go through this, you might want to take notes of each chakra to see which ones need more attention in your energy field. I will start today with, of course, the first chakra, which is your root chakra. And it starts in the base of your spine and it goes through your legs to your feet, and the color is red. So I believe right now, as I started with in the beginning, this root chakra has been seriously shaken up for most of humanity during this pandemic. The global political unrest, it's not only in the United States, and the disastrous effects of global warming that we have experienced this year, because the root and the first chakra has a lot to do with our tribe and survival. Okay, it also covers the first years of your life, the physical family and the group you were born into. So essentially your tribe, identity, honor code, and loyalty. Also your basic needs. Were they met? Feelings of safety and security, being seen and loved. But also, as medical intuitive Carolyn Mays discusses, it is where every choice that you make and every belief that you hold exerts influence upon the whole of your life, and that ability to see that all life is one. Clearly, in humanity, we're not seeing that right now. Okay, so now I will try to succinctly go through my first chakra, my own development with it. So the tribe that I came from was divorced when I was 11 months old. And this is not a judgment of either one of my parents. It's just information to my development. My mom was most likely contemplating leaving the marriage while I was in the womb, creating an unstable and kind of push-pull environment as I developed in utero. And as I talked about in earlier episodes, this played out, this kind of push-pull energy played out in my other intimate male relationships. My basic needs were absolutely met with food, shelter, love, and more. As I grew older, I believe my mother's own sense of worthiness, or lack of, deeply affected my own. That's also part of your root. On the patriarchal side of my family, the belief that substances or alcohol relaxes the uptight hair up our tribe's very anxious asses is a big thing. That drama, loud voices, and extremes were the natural way of navigating conflict. That intelligence is held in really high regard in my family. And also, anxiety runs high and develops into panic attacks and a sort of social nervousness as well. So that is my root chakra. Mantras are statements to strengthen this, and these are things that you can either interweave into your meditation practice or you can kind of say throughout the day as you notice and go through this which chakra is not as strong as others. So with this root chakra, it is I am secure, I am safe, I am grounded, I am rooted. Physical acts to engage in this chakra is to walk barefoot in nature, whether that's the beach, your backyard, or any natural surface for that matter. Energy is absorbed and released through your feet. There is a term called earthing, which is this practice of getting out of your shoes and the plastic materials that separate you from the magnetic pull of the earth. Imagine that the earth is helping to ground you, and whatever is not serving you is even releasing out of your feet. Let the earth take it. The next one, which you'll judge me, and I'm okay with that, hug a tree. And really don't knock it until you try it. If you're feeling really sped up or not grounded, go and hug a tree. The next one is put diatomaceous earth in your bath. I haven't done this because I really love a clean house and a clean bathtub, so I'm not throwing dirt in it, but you can try it and you can tell me all about it. The next one is listen to deep rhythmic music or anything vibrationally that feels grounding to you. Okay, moving into the second chakra. It is the color orange and it starts in your pelvic floor and it moves to your pubic bone and then lower abdomen. This is all about your personal power, sexuality, passion, finances, issues of control, and learning the value of relationships and partnership. So it's just not about me, but we, and can we grow, share, create pleasure with one another, with friends, family, and partners. It is also, the second chakra is about addictions, comparison, judgment, intimacy, and trust. It is about your capacity to nurture and be nurtured and the ability to give birth to your creative ideas. All right, so chakra 2 is a huge one, I think, for most of us. Over the years, I have listened to many clients struggle with sexual intimacy, shame around it, or fear of birthing their creative ideas out into the world. And of course, working in and staying in mutuality in an intimate partnership. So now I will personally go through my second chakra. I have always been a very creative person. Growing up, I used to love to dance and paint, make any form of art. But as I've gotten older, I have found that it takes me a long time to execute and really birth my final projects. I'm getting better at this the older that I get. Sexuality was expressed differently in my family. My mom didn't talk much about it. She seemed pretty rigid around it, and some of that I've had to work through. My dad, on the other hand, had a healthier relationship with it, But I do remember as kids, I don't think that my dad loved having the birds and the bees discussion with my brother and I. And also Joe and I remember one night we were laying in bed and we were just going on and on about this is what happens with sex. No, this is what happens. And I just remember my dad opening the door, shutting down that conversation and closing it. So I think like many parents in America, and not just America, other places as well, early sexual education and there not being some shame around sex, it's kind of this shameful and very taboo subject. But I do believe that this is really evolving and changing. So moving into the idea of control in the second chakra, which also can be related to sex and so many areas in life. I love control, and I have to endlessly work to surrender and let go of my control. I love a clean house. I love things my way. I like to take leads on trips so people don't end up fucking it up. This is where I can laugh at myself because, these are the things that I have to endlessly work on. My relationship with finances has really ebbed and flowed in my life. There was a point where I left grad school and I felt so inundated with financial debt. I had debt with my car, debt with student loans, debt with credit cards. I never felt like I was going to get out of it. And I actually remember calling my dad and he said to me, so do you think that I'm going to give you money to get out of this? The best thing for you to do is pull yourself out of this and, really shift my relationship with finances, which I did. So I would say that I used to come from a much tighter place with money and fear and scarcity, and I used to be super tight with it. That has massively, massively shifted. But this is still a work in progress. Of course, I have moments of fear around money. I just recently bought a house, and I don't want this to sound like a tone-deaf Kim Kardashian moment in the current state of the world, but that's brought up a lot of the old stuff around money. Fear that I'm not going to be able to pay for the repairs, just fear of commitment to that as well. So the last thing in second chakra is addiction. And that, as I talked about, is sort of in relation to the first chakra, but it's very much in the second, is, within my family system, I've had to learn how to realign a healthier relationship with alcohol, drugs, and I would even say surfing. I come from a wonderful and highly intense Italian family where moderation is seriously not our strong suit. We have to work on it. So mantras that you can use to strengthen this are, I am healthy, I am creative, I am abundant, I am calm. Activities to engage in. Write down your relationship to money. What beliefs are held from your family and society that are not serving you? Are you greedy? Are you overly attached to money? Do you have a hard time sharing it or being generous with it? Write down your relationship to sexuality. Is there trauma that needs to be healed? Is there shame, control, rigidity? Do you maybe need to speak to a therapist about it? Are you overly identified with your sexuality and sexual attractiveness? Does that rule your life? Do you become kind of petulant when not getting enough sex or feeling like your partner isn't giving it to you? Or that it's a hole that you can never quite fill up? You guys can, yeah. Okay, next one. Write down your relationship to judgment and comparison. How much do you judge others and compare yourself to others? What does compassion look like for yourself and others? Look at your relationship to addiction. Do you have healthy coping skills when emotions become overwhelming and difficult for you? Do you have practices of meditation and breathing? Or do you look for the closest glass of wine, joint, Netflix binge, food, or jump online to shop? All right. Are you overly attached to having the newest and coolest material things only to get tired of them? Sometimes, I said it earlier, but just kind of think of this like never ending, I almost want to say just like tunnel that you keep filling up. That's the addiction cycle. So last one, I would like you to journal, how can you let go of control and surrender in your life? All right, moving on to third chakra. And this chakra is the color yellow, and it is in your stomach, your gut. So what's represented in this chakra? Power, self-worth, self-esteem, boundaries, confidence, and fear. So, this is a big one for me. As I've talked about before in previous episodes, my mom passed away from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was in her stomach. Growing up, my mom always had issues with pain in her stomach, digestive issues, and bowel movement. My mom was not fully in her power. It even pains me, as I read this out loud. She was the vice president of a landscaping company, but she still made less money than her male counterparts and was not really given the external validation to build up her self-esteem around it, even though she was incredible at what she did. So instead, she externally looked for that validation, as many of us do, through validation in the career or even the men that were higher up in her company, through her looks and her intelligence. I learned this from her, and she learned this from generations of women and a deeply patriarchal society. I have already talked about this, and many of us women are on the path of unlearning this and undoing this, but it is very fucking hard. Okay, so I have been on a deep path of stepping into my power, believing in my own worthiness regardless of what people say. Starting this podcast, choosing to not go into partnership professionally anymore, thinking that other people have more power or a deeper knowing than I do. So I'm not meaning to sound like a prick when I say that, but it's really just about me believing in myself and stepping into my own worthiness. So collaborative work is really beautiful, and I still believe that one day I will collaborate, but it can be detrimental if you keep yourself in a comfortable, safe space because you want somebody else to lead and you want somebody else to make the decisions, even on an unconscious level, which is what I would often do. So the next piece in the third chakra, boundaries. Boundaries have always been hard for me. As a woman, I have held deep beliefs, and I know this affects men as well, of needing to be the caretaker of family members and even friends who have somewhat pulled at my energy. I once had an intuitive tell me, girl, you've got too much shine. You need to have a little bit more moon because otherwise people are just going to kind of leech that from you. And again, I'm not meaning to sound like an asshole when I say that, but there has been truth in that in what I have experienced in my life. So I have learned to have much stronger boundaries with my energy in the last 2 years, learning when to say no to people, when I can no longer give of myself, and not saying sorry because I feel like I need to say that if someone's guilt tripping me. I also have much, much stronger boundaries with my self-care practice, substances in my life, and who I share my energy with. So mantras that you can use to strengthen this chakra is, I am powerful, I am confident, I am strong, I am worthy. All right, so fourth chakra, it is the heart and the color is green. This is all about love, divine love, forgiveness, kindness, compassion, giving and receiving, appreciation, gratitude, humility, unconditional love, vulnerability. But the flip side to it, when it's weaker or off in some ways, is it can be about anger, bitterness, jealousy, and the inability to forgive. So when I was sick this year, and I talked about this in a few other episodes, I absolutely broke open my heart chakra. There was deep, deep anger in me towards several people in my life that I wouldn't say several, but people who were really monumental for me that I had felt like either lied or were critical of me and also had no boundaries. When I went into those 3 days of silence, trying to get through whatever was also stuck in me energetically outside of the virus, I literally was sweating out anger and my ego's need to be right, or feeling like I needed some sort of apology or somebody to admit what they did. I was able later to soften and see every face and every person with so much love. I was able to honor their souls gracing my path. My heart literally felt like it was bursting at the seams. I cried, and of course, I continued to sweat and sweat. But now, a daily part of my meditation practice is to offer love and forgiveness to myself, everyone in my life, and anyone who has graced my life in whatever capacity. So I say this Buddhist prayer every day, which is, may I forgive all beings who have intentionally or unintentionally harmed me. May I forgive myself for intentionally or unintentionally harming other beings. May I forgive myself for intentionally or unintentionally harming myself. So exercises for you, practice this prayer. Forgive people that you need to forgive. But remember that it is a practice and you may not feel it for years and years, okay? The other one, let go, let go, let go. That was my word in 2020, and it was a mantra when I was sick. So the reminder to let go of expectations of others and life. Continue to connect to living things and bask in the idea that we are all one and we're all connected. So the next one is a Buddhist loving kindness meditation, which is, may all beings be happy, may all beings be safe, may all beings be free from suffering, may all beings be free from fear, may all beings be at ease. And then you can switch this to yourself and you can say, may I be happy, may I be safe, etc., etc., etc. Okay, the next one that you can do is get into a body of salt water. And I am so lucky to be a surfer, and I just imagine releasing any kind of pent up negative energy, irritable energy, but you can do this in your bathtub with Epsom salts. So mantras for this: I am love, I am joy, I am open, I am peaceful. Fifth chakra is the throat, and it's the color blue. So this is all about speaking your truth, discovering your voice, acting bravely, staying honest, and living from communication that has integrity and is congruent. Not compromising yourself while in a group of people in order to quote unquote stay in that group. So I think starting this podcast was really the biggest, learning and aha of how to speak my truth with integrity, authenticity, and really just believing in my voice. So wise speech. Wise speech is something this is a Buddhist tenet, which is asking yourself when you are speaking from your throat chakra, is it kind? Is it wise? Is it necessary? And also, is it timely? Exercises for you. Journal about where have you not been truthful in your life and to others? Where has your speech and your voice been damaging to yourself and others? How has it also been uplifting? How do you speak to yourself on the daily? I'm all about Om chanting, which opens up your throat chakra. You can download this on YouTube, play it loud, freak out your neighbors, blame it on me, and just open up that throat chakra. You can do that also through singing, any type of chanting, etc. So express yourself freely, creatively, and honestly. Sixth chakra is your third eye, and it's indigo purple. This is all about intuition, knowing, higher sight, and wisdom. Let me first just say that I believe we are all intuitive beings, and we all have the ability to connect with this. For myself personally, it has become more heightened in the last couple of years with a couple of very intense experiences. So previously to these most recent experiences, I remember being an extremely sensitive child. I could feel other people's energy fields, but I didn't have the language for it. And I also used to emerge with it and absorb it. Before my mom passed away from cancer, I had very lucid dreams for years of her being in the hospital without hair, and she almost looked like this angelic being. I remember calling her one weekend when I was at my dad's house in about, I think it was 4th or 5th grade. And in the wee hours of the morning, I was calling just to see if she was okay and breathing. I never told her about those dreams because I never wanted them to come true. So one of my best friends and I also had a third eye exploding moment or experience together, which I think was very hard for many people close to us to digest. I think I'm going to talk more about this in a later episode, but I'm going to touch on this. So in the summation of this, I really thought I had lost my mind for a few hours. I merged with her energetic and psychic space, and I got an incredible amount of overwhelming information about people in my life. And it was just coming at me at the most intense speed and pace. So it was information about who has lighter energy, who has darker energy, relationships around me that were going to end, ones that I wasn't necessarily a part of at all. I really wasn't ready for this experience, but when are we ever kind of ready for these experiences in life? It's like if you do a heavy dose of LSD or mushrooms, you're not necessarily ready for the information that's going to open up. And I had to do some serious work around this and grounding myself to get back into this physical world. So even as I describe that to you, I can feel my hands sweating a little bit. My voice started to speed up. So I have to stay grounded when I talk about those moments. Okay, how can you tap into your intuitive self if you even want to? Meditate, meditate, meditate. Get silent and pray. Also, look at what substances in your life or things that sort of bring down, I'm going to say it, low vibrations and anything that brings you higher clarity or higher vibration. You can look at this in all areas of your life. Pay attention to synchronicities in your life. So also a deep knowing, and that's with a capital K. Okay, this knowing, and we all have it. Sometimes I'll feel chills, and also I'll talk later about symbolic sight, but being able to really look at things. And I don't necessarily think everything is a sign. I don't know. I'm going to talk later about this, but looking into things and really being able to tune into what signs. So the next is mantras, which are I am guided, I am centered, I am clear, I am intuitive. And remember, if it ever becomes too much, you can always just ask, I need to be grounded. Please help me be grounded. Whatever you believe in, angels, guides, God, universe, bring it back. 7th chakra. This is the color white and essentially all of the colors combined, and it is at the crown of the head. It is connected to spirituality, consciousness, unity, higher guidance, and need for spiritual contact. For me, this has grown exponentially this year. I can also thank COVID for that. My friend Kip, who was living with us and sick with us during that time, wrote a poem for me, and he gave it to me when I came out of silence. He wrote, I need to be alone, gently sways at the door. This room is my temple, there's no need to know more. I care for your care, but I don't care no more. Whatever way I get there, touching God is my chore. That was my experience in those 3 days. So mantras for the 7th chakra. I am wise, I am present, I am connected, I am being. How you can strengthen this: meditation, prayer, and what I believe is lots and lots of gratitude, which will always raise your vibration if you can get down with that. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and have a beautiful, safe rest of your week. Hi, friends. If you have been enjoying Spaces Between, Please take a moment to subscribe, and leaving a review is the cherry on top. Thank you so much, and I look forward to connecting with you next week.